Friday, 26th of March, we will be discussing an exciting new book, The Experimental Fire, Inventing English Alchemy, 1300 to 1700, by Jennifer Rampling, a book which just came out from University of Chicago Press. Rampling, who is associate professor at Princeton University, looks at alchemy as experimental knowledge, and in the process reconceptualizes both alchemy and the notion of experiment. What are your views of experiment?
Experiment isn't some kind of objective term. It's actually a process of interpretation, reconstruction, historicizing. And by trying to interpret what experiments meant over 4 centuries, I'm really trying to see how the underlying chemistry perhaps changed invisibly in a way that historians of science haven't always noticed.
You're defining alchemy as a dual activity, as basically a reading and doing at the same time.
Right, I think in the alchemical tradition, it's very difficult to actually separate the reading from the doing, because I see them as a kind of feedback loop. So, and part of the reason for that is the nature of alchemy itself. Because, so I always see the reading and the practice as deeply interlinked. The alchemists are trying to reconstruct past science, but we as modern readers are also trying to reconstruct what they were doing. Sometimes physically in the laboratory, but often as a kind of thought experiment, just through comparing texts and, trying to see, is the same term used in different ways, essentially using exactly the same suite of skills that the alchemists were using when they tried to interpret their texts. English alchemists want to present English alchemy as the best possible kind of tradition because they're appealing to nationalist sentiments. And of course, it's something that's still with us. It hasn't gone away. But when these alchemists actually try to locate themselves just in England, they are glossing over the very rich continental influences that continue to inform their theory and practice. I think the English Reformation changes everything in the English context. So many important English alchemists prior to the dissolution were members of monastic communities. George Ripley's one example. He was a canon regular, not a monk, but he was still based in an enclosed religious house. So what happens when you can't practice alchemy safely in your monastery anymore? You have to find some other setting in which you can practice, or you just give up. Alchemy just seems to be this ubiquitous presence. It isn't restricted to just one site. And I think part of the reason for that is there's something aspirational about alchemy as a pursuit. Alchemy offers practitioners a way of getting out of their current social niche. So even if you're a craftsperson, or you're someone like Thomas Charnock, who's an irregular medical practitioner, who doesn't have a steady source of income or even much education, you can still feel empowered to write to the prince, to Elizabeth I, for instance, if you think you have sufficient alchemical knowledge. So alchemy kind of gives you the entree to different levels of society and to different levels of reward in a way that other arts and sciences perhaps don't.
Join us for more at the Philosophical Cafe discussion on Friday with Jennifer Rampling, hosted by myself, Joe Hedesan, together with Dana Jalobeanu.